Then goes somewhere. Weird.
Very weird.
So, as far as it's called Devil Kettle Fall because as far as we know, the water goes just straight to hell. I mean, really, truly, that's like literally as far as we know, it could go straight into hell. It could go into this place that apparently the Nazis recorded into like the hole into hell. Because here's the deal. It's apparently an immense amount of water, and I looked everywhere, and I could not find good statistics on how much water, like, per hour or per year flows down this river, how much flows into this kettle, anything like that. But everyone I've ever read has referred to it as an immense amount of water, and it just disappears. The standing theory is that it runs underground for a while and eventually empties into the lake or back into the river.
Oh, farther downstream.
Yeah, further downstream or just like straight into the lake. But efforts to prove this have been like really unsuccessful. Scientists, and I'm like using air quotes here because some people who study this are scientists, some are just drunk hikers, have dropped, things varying from vibrant dyes to ping pong, like massive amounts of ping pong balls to
rubber ducks.
Not rubber ducks, but logs. And there's a claim that a car has been dropped into this thing.
I saw that.
How do you get a car into that thing?
Well, it's not even like how do you get it into that thing, but like you have to hike to it. I mean, it's just like a foot trail. So I don't know how much I believe the car situation, but logs.
Took it apart, packed it in one piece at a time, reassembled it to throw it in.
Well, it might be. They might have like. There might be a road that crosses somewhere upstream. They could have tied logs to the car and driven it into the river and just floated downstream.
That seems like an immense amount of effort just to get rid of a car.
Yeah,
it does.
So I don't know about the car, but definitely logs. And then, just like natural stuff that goes down a river. Twigs,
rocks,
debris, rocks, things like that.
That's like a great place to get rid of a body.
Joe, again, with the dumping of bodies, you really weird me out sometimes.
The good news is this is really far away, so like you would have to actively go.
Yeah, I'll have to get rid of my body somewhere closer because getting a body into a suitcase and onto the airplane to fly to Minnesota is like it's difficult.
Okay, all right.
So no worries, I'm not actually going to do it.
So they dumped all this stuff down this kettle, right? And literally none of it has resurfaced ever.
Well,
just ever.
So the dyes, they don't see them coming out somewhere in the lake.
Nope.
Ping pong balls aren't mysteriously appearing in Lake Superior.
Nope.
And I can imagine logs, nobody could tell.
Right. I mean, and that's fair. But, I guess the other thing that people bring up in this situation, right, is that it hasn't backed up. There's not like a natural dam that's happened. So it doesn't seem to be like filtering things, right? It's not just like going underwater into just natural water table or anything like that.
You would think that eventually they would dump enough crap down there that it would clog the thing up.
Yeah, and it's this has been around for thousands of years.
It's got to have been around for a long time.
Yeah, so it would have naturally backed up if it were filtering this stuff out. Okay, I guess there are problems with the underground river theory. First, the rock that comprises this riverbed is like really, really hard.
And so the underground river theory, just to make sure I understand how this is working, you're saying that it's going down and it's hitting basically the water table?
So no. There are a couple theories, and we're going to kind of get into these,
I just want to understand how the underwater or the underground river thing works.
People pretty much don't think that it hits the water table because it would have backed up in this kind of dam, so like we would see more water. It would have been slower, or like we would see it falling into a lake or something like that.
Or overflowing out of the hole.
Yeah. So people are pretty much not saying that it just hits the water table and is absorbed in any way. They're saying that it's like a river, and ostensibly in like a lava tube.
In the place where this happens, where the Devil Kettle is, how high above the elevation of Lake Superior is that?
I think it's only like 50 feet.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, no, I think it's more than 50 feet, but it's not. I mean, it's a mile and a half away.
I think this is the last fall.
It's one of the last falls, so it's not that high above the lake.
Yeah.
I know some people that actually explored an underground river in Guatemala.
Well,
and it's like it was a huge expedition.
Yeah. So underground rivers are, I think, honestly, the most solid theory, right? So I kind of want to talk about that.
Okay. I was just trying to understand how that works.
Right. So that it would be through mainly the most viable theory I've heard is that it's like a lava tube. Underground river.
It's a hole in the ground somehow that
pretty
it's
much.
flowing down. Okay, I can run with that. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's okay.
There's a river itself, like it continues on. Is there a point in the river where suddenly there's a whole bunch more water in it?
Nope. Not as far as anyone can tell.
Are there any mysterious rivers that just pop out of the ground anywhere nearby?
No.
Okay, I'm going to solve this mystery. Yeah. It's in the middle of Oregon, Central Oregon. There's a river called the Metolius River, which, in cosmological terms, is just right next door to Devil's Kettle Falls. So the Metolius is really a pretty unique river in the sense that most rivers start off as just little trickles, like little
tributaries flowing into a larger body.
Little trickles that turn into little streams that turn into creeks, and they all join together. And so basically, a bunch of little streams come together and form a river. The Metolius is unique in that it just pops up out of the ground. It's not composed of a lot of little tributaries. There's two big springs, and all this water just comes pouring out of these springs and heads on downstream.
So Joe's theory is that somehow this water makes it
several thousand miles.
Yeah, exactly.
through a few ranges of mountains.
Oh, yeah.
Negating all laws of physics that we know.
Well, have you not heard of interdimensional travel?
Okay, so let's just go ahead and work
back.
with let's go back.
Okay. Anyway,
So,
but
okay.
it's interesting though. The Metolius is actually kind of the inverse of this river.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It totally is. The first thing that I want to bring up with the underground river theory is that the rock that comprises this riverbed is really, really hard. Like rhyolite and basalt.
Rhyolite?
I think that's how you pronounce that, right? Rhyolite?
I think-
Rhyolite, yeah. No, I know basalt is super hard. I'm familiar with that one. I'm not
Rhyolite is
familiar-
actually harder than
Oh,
basalt.
okay. I was going to say, I'm not familiar with that one.
So you can say, but Devin, you're saying, maybe there's a fault line that crushed the rock into more permeable pebbles, and that was fine, and that's totally a thing, right? Right?
Possibly.
But not in Minnesota, not northern Minnesota. The problem is that there's no evidence to suggest a fault line other than the fact that a river disappears. It's not just going into super permeable pebbles or anything like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the next theory would be that there's a lava tube,
Okay.
which do form in basalt. Lava tubes do form in basalt. But,
Are there any volcanoes anywhere nearby?
no. So that's the thing, right, is that basalt forms lava tubes by flowing down the slope of a volcano, essentially, right?
Yeah.
So that the shell cools faster than the inside and forms a more solid.
Yeah. What happens is they form. They go down the hillside essentially, and as literally a river of lava, like a stream. And then as they go along,
The outside cools.
The top, what happens is eventually they form a crust over the top that cools, and that cools faster than the center of it.
And the center continues to flow.
And the center continues to flow on out. And so, that's how they're formed. But
Right.
in this particular case, has there been any volcanic activity
Well, so
in
the
the area?
basalt that formed in this area I don't remember what it's called, I gotta be honest with you, but it's formed by lava oozing out of a fissure, and just it oozes out in sheets.
Oh, yeah, I did see that. I did see that.
So that basalt is super hard, just sheets. It doesn't have any kind of tube system. There's no evidence for any kind of tube system.
And I think I read that, and I was reading how that kind of lava works, and it took me a bit, and I was like, well, but lava's lava, right?
Yeah, the way I would describe it is so a fissure is just basically just a big old cut in the earth, right? So it's a cut that opened up, and the blood is or the lava is oozing out, as opposed to a puncture wound, which would form. Would you say that's fairly accurate way to describe it?
Yeah, I mean, but
In a kind of gross term.
if there's volcanic activity nearby.
Right, but
And
I
we're
mean,
talking
it
a
wasn't.
long time
it was
ago, but-
millions of years ago. It was just a fissure. There wasn't any volcanic activity. It was just that, the Earth split open at one point and it flowed out into this big sheet.
So there's a lava tube.
Not a
there,
lava
basically.
tube. Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So I guess even if